to the lines of this call and ask you, this is not the first time he is making this kind of call, but what's the opportunity of using an international media to make a second call after his captivity?
I think that the opportunity of using international media is not the first time. Cardinal Tumi has been consulted a lot in international media, and he's just re-emphasizing what he's been saying. It's just unfortunate that at one moment the Cardinal plays the card of the regime, yeah, and then comes back to play the card of the mediator. It doesn't happen like that. It's when you want to be the mediator, you remain the mediator. But at one moment, Cardinal Tumi has been part of the so-called national dialogue, which has been
Because of
which
for peace.
yeah, which has just been to me a cacophony. And I think that those who went and took part in what so-called major national dialogue endorsed that cacophony and eventually are responsible for the escalation of the crisis, because just that major national dialogue alone, that did not look like a dialogue in itself, in its form. Was actually a kind of a provocation to the Anglophones who believe that there is a genuine problem that needs to be solved. Unfortunately, Cardinal Tumi was part of that, and he was sent on a mission to go and implement some kind of what doesn't exist in the name of special status. That special status has never existed. We asked for
the content of
yeah,
the special
we don't
status.
even know what the content is. I don't know if he started explaining and if he has arrived at the point of explanation. I don't know. Yeah, and now, yeah, now when you are a mouthpiece for the government, you lose your neutrality as mediator in the conflict. And that is where the problem comes from. And that is one of the reasons why a poor personality like Cardinal Tumi, with all the reverence that he has, could be manhandled by a rebel group in this country. I think that it's a sad situation that we need to condemn about the manhandling of personalities like Cardinal Tumi.
Is it a child that you say has been manhandled?
Well, just the fact that he's been kidnapped is a disrespect to that his authority. It's a disrespect to his office as a cardinal in this country. We know what a cardinal means in a society like our own. The lone Cameroon has known. I think it's a reverence that we need to appreciate. That if just the fact that he's been taken into custody by armed separatists, it's a fact, it's a testament to the fact that he's been manhandled. Psychologically, he's been manhandled. When they talk about torture, torture is not just physical torture, but psychological torture applies in the case of torture. So we can say that the cardinal went through torture, because when he left the camps, when he left...
Took in that road, that risky road, he knew that he could likely be...
Yes, he knew that, but he took the risk and he saw what happened. I think that is not the first time that the cardinal is taking the road. At first, the cardinal will go to Saw and come back, and you meet those guys on the way, and he will talk to them and come back. But if at this time the cardinal was picked up, that tells you that there is something that is wrong with the neutrality of the cardinal. And the earlier he gains back that neutrality, the better. If he doesn't prove to us that he is gaining back that neutrality, it's going to be difficult for people to trust him again, especially coming back to preach the message of ceasefire. Is going to really be difficult, because we know what the Yaoundé regime is all about. The Yaoundé regime is all about using and dumping people. They've used and dumped people a lot in this country. And I really fear for those who go closer to Yaoundé, because if I were a wise person in this country, I would really avoid going closer to the Yaoundé regime.
Mr. Eswa, Mr. Ate is just putting it straight to you that he fear for your future, because definitely being closer to the Yaoundé administration is challenging for you to actually not to be used and be done. But let's talk about Cardinal Tumi himself. Do you think that Mr. Biya is going to yield to his call and grant general amnesty to all the Anglophone detainees in prison?
First of all, life is choice.
Okay.
After maturity, at the age of maturity, you have the right to your decisions and choices.
Right.
So you know what is best or good for you.
Very
Nobody tells me what to do at this age. I make my decisions myself. So whether I'm close to the regime
or not,
where he is, I might not. Where you are, I'm not sure I'm comfortable with your own source.
Okay.
I may also advise you to quit where you are. So it's a matter of choice.
Okay. You mean sure where Mr. Ate is?
Yes.
Okay.
Because as far as I'm concerned, where I am,
yes.
I'll say it, I'm very comfortable.
Okay.
I'm okay.
Yes.
I've not.
No,
I said where I am.
Let us not
I've not called regime. I said as far as I'm concerned, where I am.
But we know you are closer to the system.
Just like you are closer to the MRC. No, so
can we move to the question?
No, so because when you tag me to a party, and you don't want me to tag you to a party, it becomes catastrophic.
Can we move to the question?
So just ask me my question straight. Stop taking me to my party. Because you have a party.
With the head of state.
As a matter of fact, the person who was satisfying document to run for the mayorship, I was referring to you. I met you.
With the head of state actually yields to the call of the cardinal.
Well, I'm sorry. You see, it's not the first time that Mr. Bia, as you always call him, you've hardly called him President Bia. It's not the first time that Mr. Bia, let me borrow from you, has been doing that. And I think in his usual magnanimity, he will still do it. He's the father of the nation. He might want to prove to be so tough, but at the end, I strongly feel that he will still do it. Because it's one of the big rocks to the pathway of peace. I personally am 100% in support of the fact that those persons should be pardoned.
But how much life should be claimed against before he does it?
Well, you see, at the same time, the release will not solve the problem.
Okay.
But I'm in favor of the fact that, I'm in total support of the fact that he should release them. Okay. Remember when they made the main leader, Sisi Kwayo Tabe.
Okay, there's a main leader.
Yeah,
now.
We knew him as one of the main.
But you
leaders.
were telling us before now that who voted for them. So what makes him the main?
At the end of the day, I'm being vindicated.
No. What makes him the main?
Let us hear from
Mr. Fighters call him the main leader.
Isn't that what I said?
Right? They call him the main leader.
That very allegation, you cancelled it some minutes ago on this platform.
I don't recognize him because I did not vote for him.
Okay, let's ride on, Mr.
So what I'm saying is that since he's in jail, he has not been the first person to be locked up.
Right.
When Agbobala and Fontaine and the rest were locked up, they cried. Cameroonians cried that before schools should resume, the leaders must be released. In August 2018, they were released.
Right.
No school resumed.
After spending 6 months.
Whether they spent 10 years, the condition was that for schools to resume, the leaders should be released.
Mancho is still in prison.
They were released. Also, so I'm telling you that Mr. Bia has gone forward to release a chunk of others. Even if you even if you release Sisiko and all the Anglophones in detention today, now Anglophone crisis will not end tomorrow.
But it will be a beginning of the solution.
There will be no beginning to any solution.
What is the beginning to the solution?
The beginning to the solution is for the both parties, like we said the other day, to be frank and truthful to themselves.
Meaning the national dialogue wasn't a serious one.
You are the one saying so. I've not said so.
No,
what I'm saying is that
what is that occasion? Please, Mr. Esso, I'm the one posting question on this platform. I want to ask you, what was that occasion, or when is that occasion that we can at least start hoping for a genuine dialogue, if the previous one was just a masquerade?
You have to call it a masquerade.
Oh God,
not me. What I'm saying is that there has been a lot of lies telling on the both parties.
Yes.
Remember, on Monday I sat here and said it openly that even on the part of the government, there was miscommunication, because on a certain day that former Prime Minister Yang was having a meeting in Bamenda, a certain minister was having another meeting here, contradicting what the Prime Minister was saying in Bamenda.
In Arafi.
You understand? So there was the flow. There was no flow of information. There was no continuity of information.
Yeah, that's why I said there was
so
information.
At the same time, what I'm saying is that the both parties. I also made it clear that if we say that the separatist fighters have not caused Cameroon to change, there's a lie.
Okay.
They have made their voices heard. Okay. The world has now understood that former British Southern Cameroons is not happy. Okay. I think that we have gotten to a point where the both parties, the leaders of the both parties here, on the side of the government, I'm talking of the head of state.
Right.
On the side of the separatists, I'm talking of their leaders, okay, whom they have chosen. to put reasoning ahead. The government should create the favorable ground and give them reasons why they should come down. At the same time, their own leaders should also understand that they have made their voices heard. Okay, let us make a very firm memo to the head of state of this country,
Mr. Pobia, or
Mr. Pobia, as you call him, that we have heard, we wish to withdraw a little, right? And we are expecting this.
Okay, the first step should come from the separate.
I started with the government. I started with
The government should
I said the
release them
government. I
and-
said
and
first
they
and
should-
foremost, the government should release
Okay.
and create the favorable environment for those guys to see reason why they should withdraw a little.
Like what, Mr. Well, let us be practical, Mr. Esra. You
Release-
people are still
releasing
holding the
is like
power.
so-
So when you
releasing-
are talking directly to your men.
Oh, Kizito. Releasing is already a step. No, so when you release the sisikos and the rest,
Yes.
right, it will pacify.
Okay.
Although it will not close the crisis, but it will pacify the temper of the people,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Now, going back to something like the Ngabo incident,
Yes.
fulfilling the promises,
Beautiful.
right?
Yes.
On the part of the government at that time, the world will see again that the government has shown another good faith.
Okay.
From that position, the people on the other side should also see that, all right, their own leaders should also see that, okay, the government has shown some level of good faith.
Yes.
Okay, now, let's back off. While backing off, Mr. President and the government, we wish to humbly propose this to be done within this period of time that we are backing off. Failure to which, I'm afraid we will take the guns again. And if that time reaches, the government does not do at least 50% of those things, they'll have genuine reason to pick those guns again. And I, Iswa Kizito, will support them.
At a time when the National Strategic Document for the Emergence of Cameroon Vision 2030 is out, it came out yesterday during a tight government meeting headed by the Ministry of Economy and Regional Planning. Do you foresee in any point of the 58-page document that there was a way or something, 200 and something page document, that there were some lines put together for the dialogue so-called by the Mr. Eswa on the platform to actually happen, where the Yaoundé administration actually releases all these leaders of the separatist faction, and equally them gaining good faith and writing back to the government in a very polite way to guarantee a peaceful return in the restive region of Northwest and Southwest. Could you see that in that document, if at all you went through it?
Well, I'm projecting that I'm of the opinion that those are the proposals that were found in that document. Yeah, because let us be honest with ourselves, there is an objective part of Cardinal Tumi. Even though sometimes he thinks as a human being he has his own faults. But I think that they produce a very good document that if the government of this country could be serious, they would have listened to them.
At the time, he was for the All Anglophone.
At the time, he was for the All Anglophone
Which was
Conference.
never accepted by
Yeah,
the
and neither was it accepted by the separatists. I think he was caught in the middle, and we really saw the limitations of Cardinal Tumi at that point in pushing his agenda through. I don't know if he lacked the firmness, because he even had diplomatic backing. The European Union was backing that option. The United States of America were backing that option.
Recently, during the Kumbamakaba Act and
Yes.
the Limbe, some pundits closer to the regime wonder and call for that a memory when Cardinal Tumi was calling for the All Anglophone General.
Yeah, for the all.
And thought even wise that if the government could yield to that call,
Yeah.
do you think they see an opportunity for that, for such call? And even if Anglophone comes together today, will it still have the same impact?
I think that Anglophones came together recently. I think, if I'm not mistaken, is it last
That was
month?
a digital come
Yeah,
together.
it was a digital come together. Well, you know, the world is
And
digital today.
7,000 Anglophone were earmarked to
Yeah.
have participated.
Yeah,
And 98 were for the fact that Anglophones in their majority won the separation. But we cannot take that kind of
not
conclusion.
98, not 98. I think it was 78 or something. It was
Which
not.
is still majority.
Yeah, which is still measured. We don't want to go into those statistics. I'm trying to make a point of the fact that Anglophones Anglophone leaders were able to meet and try to chart a way forward as far as the conflict is concerned. Because let us not forget, at the end of the day, the conflict is between Anglophones and the government, not between Anglophones and Francophones. And at the end of the day, Anglophones will come together to see it and chart the way forward, how they intend to dialogue with the government of the Republic of Cameroon. That is the way forward for this crisis. There's the lapse, one of the major lapses of the national dialogue, as it was called, because we even had more Francophones than Anglophones who sat there presumably talking on behalf of Anglophones. That's an insult to Anglophones in this country. They have problems. During that major national dialogue, don't cut me please, during that major national dialogue, I saw it as if it was a Cameroonian dialogue. And I said, there is an Anglophone problem and there is a Cameroonian problem. If we finish solving the Anglophone problem, we can organize a major national dialogue.
That was a CPDM gathering.
Well, that's what makes it a CPDM gathering, because it failed in its objective. It failed to meet the objective. The fact that we had more people coming in to discuss the Cameroonian problem and not the Anglophone problem, it makes the whole masquerade complete, because there was a whole strategy to make it look like it is a national dialogue, whereas in its real sense it was not. So everybody was now brought in to say, okay, the East region has its own problem, the South region has its own problem, the Northern region has its own problem, and the whole masquerade was complete with all of those distractions around it. That makes it the more reason why I call it the CPDM Conference on Decentralization, because they were eventually thinking of how they could implement their decentralization. That is up to today, more than 20 years that has been adopted, is not been effective. That is its own proposal to the so-called Anglophone problem. That has not even been effective for more than 20 years.
That is it for this other edition of Crossview, ladies and gentlemen. We were receiving today first Mr. Eswa Kisito. He is a political analyst on Crossview, but an important element very close to the Yaoundé administration and equally in the University of Buea. Besides him was Mr. Ate Solomon. He is the publisher of the Bantu Voices, one of the prolific press organ that reports for NGOs activities in Cameroon. I was using Siri. This program was brought to you by Nabila Christia. Behind the camera was Mr. Fozo Oliver, and the program was supervised by the TV station boss, Mr. Bobe Quen Chamba. Until we meet on Friday, when it shall be 7 p.m., take care of yourself. Bye-bye.